Azkaban by J.J. Rowling, Chapter 14, Snape's Grudge, Part 3. Mr. Malfoy has just been to see me with a strange story, Potter, said Snape. Harry didn't say anything. He tells me that he was up by the shrieking shack when he ran into Weasley, apparently alone. Still, Harry didn't speak. Mr. Malfoy states that he was standing talking to Weasley when a large amount of mud hit him on the back of the head. How do you think that could have happened? Harry tried to look mildly surprised. I don't know, Professor. Snape's eyes were boring into Harry's. It was exactly like trying to stare out a hippogriff. Harry tried hard not to blink. Mr. Malfoy then saw an extraordinary apparition. Can you imagine what it might have been, Potter? No, said Harry, now trying to sound innocently curious. It was your head, Potter, floating in mid-air. There was a long silence. Maybe he'd better go to Madame Pomfrey, said Harry. If he's seeing things like, what would your head have been doing in Hogsmeade, Potter? Had said Snape softly. Your head is not allowed in Hogsmeade. No part of your body has permission to be in Hogsmeade. I know that. Said Harry, striving to keep his face free of guilt or fear. It sounds like Mr. Malfoy is having a hallucination. Malfoy is not having hallucinations, snarled Snape, and he bent down, a hand on each arm of Harry's chair, so that their faces were a foot apart. If your head was in Hogsmeade, so was the rest of you. I've been up in the Gryffindor Tower, said Harry, like you told. Can anyone confirm that? Harry didn't say anything. Snape's thin mouth curled into a horrible smile. So, he sat straightening up again. Everyone from the Minister of Magic downwards have been trying to keep famous Harry Potter safe from Sirius Black. But famous Harry Potter is a law unto himself.
Воно не кусається.
Let the ordinary people worry about his safety. Famous Harry Potter goes where he wants to, with no thought for the consequences. Harry stayed silent. Snape was trying to provoke him into telling the truth. He wasn't going to do it. Snape had no proof, yet. How extraordinarily like your father you are, Potter, Snape said suddenly, his eyes glinting. He, too, was exceedingly arrogant. A small amount of talent in the Quidditch pitch made him think he was a cut above the rest of us, too, strutting around the place with his admirers and friends. The resemblance between you is uncanny. My dad did strut, said Harry, before he could stand himself, and nor do I. Your father didn't set much store by rules either. Snape went on, pressing his advantage, his thin face full of malice. Rules were for lesser mortals, not Quidditch Cup winners. His head was so swollen. Shut up! Harry was suddenly on his feet. Rage such as he had not felt since his last night in private drive was stuttering through him. He didn't care that Snape's face had gone rigid, the black eyes flashing dangerously. What did you say to me, Potter? I told you to shut up about my dad, Harry yelled. I know the truth, all right. He saved your life. Dumbledore told me. You wouldn't even be here if it weren't for my dad. Snape's sallow skin had gone the color of sour milk. And did the headmaster tell you the circumstances in which your father saved my life? He whispered. Or did he consider the details too unpleasant for precious Potter's delicate ears? Harry bit his lip. He didn't know what had happened and didn't want to admit it, but Snape seemed to have guessed the truth. I would hate you to run away with a false idea of your father, Potter, he said, a terrible grin twisting on his face. Have you been imagining some acts of glorious heroism? Then let me correct you. Your saintly father and his friends played a highly amusing joke on me that would have resulted in my death if your father hadn't got cold feet at the last moment. There was nothing brave about what he did. He was saving his own skin as much as mine. Had their joke succeeded, he would have been expelled from Hogwarts. Snape's uneven yellowish teeth were bared. Turn out your pockets, Potter, he spat suddenly. Harry didn't move. There was a pounding in his ears. Turn out your pockets, or we go straight to the headmaster. Pull them out, Potter. Cold with dread, Harry slowly pulled out the back of Zonko's tricks and the murderer's map. Snape picked up the Zonko's bag. Ron gave them to me, said Harry, praying he'd get a chance to tip Ron off before Snape saw him. He brought them back from Hogsmeade last time. Indeed? And you've been carrying them round ever since? How very touching. And what's this? Snape had picked up the map. Harry tried with all his might to keep his face impassive. Spare bit of parchment, he shrugged. Snape turned it over, his eyes on Harry. Surely you don't need such a very old piece of parchment, he said. Why don't I just throw it away? His hand moved towards the fire. No, Harry said quickly. So, said Snape, his long nostrils quivering. Is it another treasured gift from Mr. Weasley? Or is it something else? A letter, perhaps, written in invisible ink? Or instructions to get into Hogsmeade without passing the Dementors? Harry blinked. Snape's eyes gleamed. Let me see. He muttered. Taking out his wand and smoothing the map out on his desk. Reveal your secret, he said, touching the wand to the parchment. Nothing happened. Harry clenched his hands to stop them shaking. Show yourself, Snape said, tapping the map sharply. It stayed blank. Harry was taking deep, calming breaths. Professor Severus Snape, master of this school, commands you to yield the information you conceal, Snape said, hitting the map with his wand. As though an invisible hand was writing upon it, words appeared on the smooth surface of the map. Mr. Mooney presents his compliments to Professor Snape and begs him to keep his unobly wretched nose out of other people's business. Snape froze. Harry stared, dumbstruck, at the message. But the map didn't stop there. More writing was appearing beneath the first. Mr. Pronks agrees with Mr. Mooney and would like to add that Professor Snape is an ugly git. It would have been very funny if the situation had been so serious. And there were more. Mr. Patfoot would like to register his astonishment that an idiot like that even became a professor. Harry closed his eyes in horror. When he opened them, the map had said its last words. Mr. Wormtail bids Professor Snape good day and advises him to wash his hair, the slime ball. Harry waited for the blow to fall. So, said Snape softly, we'll see about this. He strode across to the fire, seized a fistful of glittering powder from a jar on the fireplace, and threw it into the flames. Lupin, Snape called into the fire. I want a word. Utterly bewildered, Harry stared at the fire. A large shape had appeared in it, revolving very fast. Seconds later, Professor Lupin was clambering out of the fireplace, brushing ash off his shabby robes. You called, Severus? Said Lupin mildly. I certainly did, said Snape, his face contorted with a fury as he strode back to his desk. I have just asked Potter to empty his pockets. He was carrying this. Snape pointed as the parchment, on which the words of Maris, Mooney, Wormtail, Patfoot, and Pronks were still shining. An odd, closed expression appeared on Lupin's face. Well, said Snape. Lupin continued to stare at the map. Harry had the impression that Lupin was doing some very quick thinking. Well, said Snape again, this parchment is plainly full of dark magic. This is supposed to be your area of expertise, Lupin. Where do you imagine Potter got such a thing? Lupin looked up and by the merest half a glance in Harry's direction warned him not to interrupt. Full of dark magic, he repeated mildly. Do you really think so, Severus? It looks to me as though it is merely a piece of parchment and insults anybody who tries to read it. Childish, but surely not dangerous. I imagine Harry got it from a joke shop. Indeed, said Snape, his jaw had gone vivid with anger. You think a joke shop could supply him with such a thing? You don't think it's more likely that he got it directly from the manufacturers? Harry didn't understand what Snape was talking about, nor apparently did Lupin. You mean from Mr. Wormtail or one of these people? He said. Harry, do you know any of these men? No, said Harry quickly. You see, Severus, said Lupin, turning back to Snape. It looks like a Zonka product to me. Right of cue, Ron came bustling into the office. He was completely out of breath and stopped just short of Snape's desk, clutching the stitch in his hand and trying to speak. I gave Harry that stuff, he checked. Got it in Zonko's ages ago. Well, said Lupin, clapping his hands together and looking around cheerfully. That seems to clear that up. Severus, I'll take this back, shall I? He folded the map and tucked it inside his robes. Harry, Ron, come with me. I need a word about my vampire essay. Excuse us, Severus. Harry didn't dare to look at Snape as they left his office. He, Ron, and Lupin walked all the way back into the entrance hall before speaking. Then Harry turned to Lupin. Professor, I don't want to hear explanations, said Lupin shortly. He glanced around the empty entrance hall and lowered his voice. I happen to know this map was confiscated by Mr. Filch many years ago. Yes, I know it's a map, he said as Harry and Ron looked amazed. I don't want to know how it fell into your possession. I am, however, astounded that you didn't hand it in, particularly after what happened the last time a student left information about the castle lying around. And I can't let you have it back, Harry. Harry had expected that and was too keen for explanations to protest. Why did Snape think I'd got it from the manufacturers? Because, Lupin hesitated, because these map makers would have wanted to lure you out of school. They think it's extremely entertaining. Do you know them? Said Harry, impressed. We've met, he said shortly. He was looking at Harry more seriously than ever before. Don't expect me to cover up for you again, Harry. I cannot make you take Sirius Black seriously. But I would have thought that what you have heard when Dementors draw you near would you have had more of an effect on you. Your parents gave their lives to keep you alive, Harry. A poor way to repay them, gambling their sacrifice for a bag of magic tricks. You walked away, leaving Harry feeling worse by far than he had at any point in Snape's office. Slowly, he and Ron mounted the marble staircase. As Harry passed the wand I witched, he remembered the invisibility cloak. It was still down there, but he didn't go and get it. It's my fault, said Ron abruptly. I persuaded you to go. Lupin's right. It was stupid. We shouldn't have done it. He broke off. He had reached the corridor where the security trolls were pacing, and Hermione was walking towards them. One look at her face convinced Harry that she had heard what had happened. His heart plummeted. Has she to Professor McGonagall? Come to have a good gloat, said Ron savagely as she stopped in front of them. Or have you just been to telling us? No, said Hermione. She was holding a letter in her hands at her hip, and her lip was trembling. I just thought you ought to know Hagrid lost his case. Buckbeak is going to be executed.